Hi there. My name is John Stevens. I'm pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we are part of the ELCA. And welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where I take a look at the lectionary text and I tie him to an item from the Dollar Tree or the junk drawer, or the kids' room, or the garage. That is how I've been doing it. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your week with me in this way. Thank you for your partnership in this ministry. Thank you for the love that you're sharing with your kids and your congregation and your families. You, my friends, are rocking it. And I'm working a cold, but my heart is heavy, and I just want to let you know that you are doing amazing work, and this is an incredibly difficult time. And you know it, you feel it. One way or the other, we try to walk the line. We try to speak to the truth, and we know that our congregations are, especially in the United States, are of a mix. Many of our congregations are purple, and we look at all the stuff that's going on. I'm right outside of Portland, and just so you know, Portland is not on fire, and it is not a war zone. But you wouldn't know that by just listening to the news and the administration. And it gets difficult because we say one thing, and we have folks that say that we're saying too much, or we say something and we have folks that say we're not saying enough. And you're in my prayers, and we continue to press forward, and we do the faithful work of God. But know that you are being prayed for, that you are being loved, and you are rocking it. You are. So now this is for the 19th Sunday after Pentecost, and we're looking at the gospel lesson. We're looking out of Luke, and we're looking at the theme of persistence. And there's all kinds of ways we can take this, but I'm looking at this as a call to be persistent about coming to our God, that we have a God that does not want us to give up on that God, that God, we are called to be persistent, to come to God with everything we have, our hurts, our joys, and that we're called to be persistent. So I've linked a video from the last time this came up on the Dollar Store Children's Sermon website, so you can take a look at that. If I'll put a link also in the show notes in the comments in the YouTube, so you can check that out. So then that still holds water, and I like that one. The other direction I'm going is this idea of persistence, and it's either using the objects as a deck of cards and a hat, and or a basketball. And so the idea is about the persistence. And one is setting the hat down a couple of, I don't know, maybe 3 feet or 6 feet away, maybe 3 feet. And you have your deck of cards. And the idea is that you're going to be working on throwing a card into the hat, which is actually more difficult than it sounds. But to take it and throw the card into the hat, you've got a deck with 52 cards, and then you can pick up the cards. But the persistence of working on that to see how many cards you can get into the hat. Or a basketball, you can talk about working on your free throws. I am not a sports person, and I would need to work really hard to actually make a free throw. But this idea that my brother used to play basketball, and the idea of just getting out and practicing the free throws, say that right, and that persistence in that, and that this same idea in this text about working preacher, the podcast stresses the how much more, and this idea that this tells us a story, but then moves it on beyond. So the unjust judge is not God. But if the unjust judge in this parable hears the persistent widow, how much more will God hear us when we are persistent in our prayer? And this idea of God wanting us to do this again and again and again. Sometimes the act of talking to God can seem weird and strange, and yet we are called to do that. The video that I share from a couple of years ago has to do with the persistence of calling for your parent, or mom, 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 mom. And we know after about 30,000 moms, we're going to get a response. we will get a response. I can also hear in my voice, in my head, the response I would get. But that idea of this persistence. So that's the direction I'm going. That teaching the kids and modeling to the kids that God wants to hear us, that God wants us to be persistent, that God wants us to come to God with our problems, with our joys, with our sorrows. And the same thing goes for us, that God wants us to come to God with our hurt hearts and our struggles and to lay them at the foot of the cross. So know, again, at the beginning, like I said, know that you are in my prayers. And yeah, you are rocking it. So thank you for the love that you're sharing with your kids and your congregations and your families. Thank you for your partnership in this ministry. Thank you for being with me. All right. We will see you next week. Peace.